All right, good morning. We're really excited to be able to speak to you today about a new addition to Office 365 that we're going to be introducing that will help you deploy and manage Office in your environments, particularly where you have shared devices. So my name's TJ Devine, I'm in product marketing. My colleague, Alice Yan, is the brains and the driving force behind a lot of what we'll be talking about today, and we're really lucky to be able to have her. So right now, if you were able to catch Satya's keynote yesterday, or Jarrett Spataro's presentation, or really most of the breakout sessions this week, you will have heard the vision that is the modern workplace. And at the core of the modern workplace is Office 365. That's driving a lot of the transformation around collaboration, productivity, and security. Now, can I get a show of hands, how many people here have Office 365 ProPlus in your environment? And how many people are moving in that direction? Okay, that is really good. So we're really excited to see that. Now, as a quick reminder for everybody, Office 365 ProPlus is the Word, Excel, PowerPoint apps you already know and love. But it's based around the user, which is completely different from what we used to do in the past. This means that you have access to your files in OneDrive from wherever you are, your emails from Exchange Online wherever you are. You can install on 5 devices, 5 smartphones, 5 tablets, and you can access from any browser in the world. It also means that you take your identity with you. You can engage with your colleagues through real-time collab in entirely different ways, and you can stay safe and secure. The user-based license has been fantastic, a revolution for how we are productive today. And what's more is that ProPlus is always up to date. We're constantly improving the product, not just in new features, which are there, they're exciting, and I hope you're checking them out, but also in the product itself. And you can see just a few of the examples in the last few months of changes we've made to make it easier to manage Office, to make it easier to deploy Office and keep everybody in your organization up to date. But the fact is that ProPlus today doesn't quite cover all of the scenarios in your workplace. So how many people here have shared devices or kiosks in your environment? All right, that's what I thought. It helps when you put it in the name of the event, the people to show up. But we see this a lot in education, in healthcare, in transportation, and in retail, as well as other industries, where you have shared devices. You have users who use multiple devices during the day, or a user who only uses a device every once in a while. And the user-based license isn't necessarily built to cover all those scenarios perfectly, which means that a lot of you have been relying on make-do scenarios, or even relying on the old stuck-in-time versions of Office 2019, 16, 13. I hope there's no 10 or 7 out there, so don't tell me, no show of hands. But you've had to rely on these older versions of Office to make sure that we get things done. This means that you now have multiple versions of Office in your environment, which increases the complexity and increases the burden on you. It also means that your users are having a second-class experience. Some are getting one version of Office, some are getting another version of Office. It creates conflicts and it creates some frustration there. And that's not the modern workplace experience we want to have. So let's do better. In August, we released device-based subscriptions for Office 365 ProPlus in the education space. And work is underway right now to make that ready for the commercial enterprise. We're really excited about this capability, and we really think it's going to be able to help us out. If there are 4 things that you leave here today remembering, I want them to be that this is real ProPlus products on a device-based subscription. So it's the real thing. It's not a workaround. It's not an adjunct. It's not a partial solution. It's the real ProPlus apps on that solution. We've also taken the opportunity to clean up this device setup process for shared devices, so it's an easier experience for you as you go through this. Thirdly, you'll be able to give everybody in your organization the same consistent Office experience, which is exactly what you want to create the collaborative, productive environments that you aspire to. And then finally, it'll make it easy to deploy and manage Office on all of the devices in your organization. So there's no more device in the back corner or device in the closet that I just can't get to yet. You'll be able to cover everything with a single version, making your lives a lot easier. So one thing I wanted to really emphasize is this is a license change. In the user-based model, you assign to a user, the user signs in, the user activates. With device-based subscriptions, it's assigned to the device. You don't necessarily have to sign in. There is not a user activation process. That's the difference on the licensing side. What stays the same is the same rich, real Office 365 ProPlus experience. So it's the same Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and all the other apps that you're used to with the AI features, the real-time collaboration. If your user is licensed for an additional service, like OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, any of that, they pull that through as well. This is not a replacement for shared computer activation. Shared computer activation is a great solution for many of those users. So if you're using a remote desktop scenario within clients, shared computer activation is fantastic. If you have scenarios where you have the same user who will work on 1 or 2 machines and they have an E3 license, great solution for them. But if you're in an environment where you have E3, F1, E1, there's still some K1s out there, then you should be considering using a device-based subscription to get everybody onto the same version. So what does the experience actually look like? So let's take the example of in a hospital. You have a doctor who works in a hospital and she goes from room to room, from desk to desk, and she's busy on her feet all day. She has an E3 license. When she logs in at a nurse's station, she signs in with her AAD ID. She brings in her identities. She has access to all of her OneDrive files, all of her emails. When she collaborates on a document, it's with her picture and with her name on it. All right, so let's have an E1 user, a nurse who has an E1 license. He's on his feet all day. He's moving around. He signs into multiple computers across the day. When he signs in, he brings in his identity so he can collaborate. He can also use the Word, Excel, PowerPoint apps on that device, and he has access to all of his OneDrive files, all of his emails. So what happens if you have a device in the common room? So it's public access, and you've configured it so that people can use it without a sign-in. They'll get access to the real PowerPoint or real ProPlus, Word, Excel, PowerPoint apps on that device, but there's no user associated with it, so they won't have access to your OneDrive files or to anything else. So that enables all 3 of these scenarios. You pull through the services that you have licensed to, and everybody who has access to the device gets access to those ProPlus apps. Now this is the fun part, and I'm going to hand it over to Alice in a moment, but the ability to deploy and manage is incredibly easy with this approach. It's a far smoother process than you've seen before.
Hi, so I'm going to walk you through the admin experience of managing device license for ProPlus. The experience I'm walking through here is already live in production because, as TJ mentioned, we shipped DBS for education customers this last August. So we already have real customers using that today. Unlike user-based licensing, the device licensing for ProPlus is assigned to groups in Azure AD. For user license, as you know, you have to assign license to individual users. Even you may use the group-based licensing behind the scene, it is still propagated to each individual user object. But this is different. For DBS, we assign a license at the group level. So the first step to do that is I create groups in Azure AD. If your organization is already using Azure AD group to manage, for example, resource access or permissions, then the first step is exactly the same. We are using the same experience as today for the Azure AD group management. For me, so first First, I go to log into Azure AD portal with my test tenant. And I go to Active Directory and groups. And for this tenant, as you see, I already have a test group created. So I just add my device as a member to the group. So I go to Member Management, and I look for my test device, and I add my test device into the group. That's it. So the group I set up, a test group, is like using a static assignment, so I manually add a member to the group. But as Azure AD, you can also use a dynamic device group. With dynamic device group, you can set up rules. For example, you can have rules say, my group contains all the devices in the same organizational unit. With that rules that you don't have to manually add it to the membership. When you add or remove devices in your organization unit, the group membership will be updated automatically. So this is the first step. Now I have an Azure AD group created, the next step is assign a device license to the group. To do that, I go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to assign license. And the license assignment process at the Admin Center is pretty much similar to the user license today. You go to your Admin Center, and here I go to the License tab. And as I can see, for my test tenant, it already has Office 365 ProPlus for device subscription. Right now, we only have offers for education customers. That's why I kind of set up for EDU. But I go to get the subscription, and you see I have for this test tenant, I have 10 available licenses for my device. Nothing is assigned today, right now. So I go to assign license. As I mentioned earlier, the license is assigned at a group level. So I search the group I just created earlier. I get my group, and I go assign license to the group. Now you can see I have one assigned license, which is basically the one device I added to the group, and I have 9 available licenses still available, which means I can add more devices to group. Once you assign the license to the group, you can manage your device group membership in Azure AD portal without even having to update the group assignment here, because every device you added to the group will automatically get the device license. The other thing is, once you get this device, you can always manage the membership independent of the license assignment here. What happens behind scene? People may wonder what happened behind scene. What happened behind scene? We evaluate device license at the runtime. So at the app launch, when a user launches Word, Excel, PowerPoint, we check the device group membership. So we look for this device. Oh, if this device belongs to this group, and this group has a device license assigned to it, then Office app will be light up with device license. It's pretty straightforward. It's very lightweight. Experience-wise, it's much, much simpler for that. Last but not least, I also want to show the user experience in Office app. As TJ mentioned, we have 3 types of users: E3, E1, F1, or guest users. Office apps, if you look at the backstage, Office apps are all licensed to the device, regardless who the user is signing or who is using the device. For E3 or E1, F1 users, Office app is also signing with users' credential, which means the app is connected with users' cloud services, such that you can use your own OneDrive, storage, or SharePoint. But for guest users, or for example, users who log into Windows device using a generic Windows account, in that case, you can also use Office Rich Client, full functionality. Of course, you don't have the user's credential and no cloud service. That's TJ mentioned. That's pretty much it. It's a user experience-wise, you have the full experience of the Office Rich Client. Admin experience-wise, is pretty straightforward. I'll be at the booth, at the ProPlus booth. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to follow up with me on that.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, this is already in production, and it's already available for a lot of our education customers. We've seen thousands of education customers already pull down these licenses and start to use them. We're seeing a lot of good feedback, a lot of good success. I've heard great stories from admins at schools who told horror stories about having to run into classrooms, disrupt the class to help students sign in. They don't have to do that anymore. This has streamlined a lot of their process, and it's made it a lot easier to push ProPlus across their entire environment. We're looking forward to having this available in the commercial space. We're projecting it'll be mid-2020. We're hoping to bring that up, of course, but do expect to hear more about this. If you're interested in learning more, or if you're interested in being part of the pilot, please go to this flow. Feel free to sign up. If you're just interested in getting the news the day we announce it, feel free to send us a note. We'll put you on the short list. But if you want to be part of the pilot, sign up. It'd be great to have you along this journey. That was actually it. We do have an opportunity for a few short questions here. Otherwise, we're going to be down by the Windows and Office booth next to Theater 4. And you can see us there. We'll be there all day. But thank you.